Welcome to yet another wasteful episode of Monday Movie Pickup. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the newest release. This is from Vestron Video. This is Dementia 13. I've actually done a review of this movie before, part of Conquering 200 Films, where I go through Mill Creek's 200 horror movie pack. While going through it, I did get to Dementia 13. It's probably most famous for being produced by Roger Corman and for being Francis Ford Coppola's directorial debut, feature-length directorial debut. And this is actually the director's cut. All these years later, this movie was released in 1963, but Francis Ford Coppola got his hands on it again and did a new edit of the film, which is kind of nice because it was due for a better restoration anyway, because this has been in public domain forever. So a lot of the releases have been pretty crappy, coming from the same awful, reel that's probably passed around to all the public domain sellers for, back in the VHS days. So it's nice that I finally got a brand new transfer, but also the director's cut. From what I understand, this is only the director's cut. This is not the original film. I don't know how many changes that were made. I saw the movie the one time. I was disappointed. It's not that great. But I'm interested to watch the director's cut, and this even has an audio commentary from Francis Ford Coppola. So really cool that they did that. Part of the Vestron series. So I only have one other Vestron video release, which actually happens to be, if I can even find it, Return of the Living Dead. Yeah, right here. Return of the Living Dead 3. So they do numbered releases. They don't do it a whole lot, but when they do something, they make it very special. Now I got some Batman stuff here. Here's Batman Beyond, the complete series. I probably remember more about this show than I do about Batman the animated series, just because, I was born in 95. So once this show was being promoted, I remembered it more from a very young age. I don't remember if I ever caught any of the show, but I remember the trailer they would show before some of the other Warner Brothers, VHSs for kids. So I remember the trailer really well, and I always thought that the idea was super cool. So now I finally own it. I own Batman the original series, or the original animated series, and then I own Batman Beyond, which is kind of the sequel to that series. So I'm excited to kind of give it all a watch now. This also does include Batman Return of the Joker, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, which I already owned on Blu-ray, so I guess I can get rid of that disc, sell it, or maybe I'll just be very nice and donate it. I don't know. Very cool, I got that. I also have here Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders. So I actually have the sequel, Batman vs. Two-Face. These were the films that brought back Adam West and Burt Ward to their original roles, but it's just animated, so it's like kind of a continuation of the original television show. But this was also kind of mocking, spoofing different ideas about Batman, so it's a very, like the original show, very campy, tongue-in-cheek romp. And it seems like they were going to do a bunch of these, but because of Adam West passing away, it seemed like they only got the other, two of them out. And I guess I don't know if they ever had plans to do more, but it seemed like they were going to make this a more common, thing, maybe a yearly release. Or I love all things Batman. I mean, now I even have here Batman Unlimited. These are the 3 films made for the Batman Unlimited series. It's kind of hard to keep up with the Batman movies. There's just so many different Batman animated movies, the live action movies, the television shows, and then there's the movies where Batman makes an appearance but isn't necessarily leading, and then there's the other things where he shows up in other franchises like Scooby-Doo. So, Batman's all over the place, and one Wikipedia page, one list of all Batman films is still not going to get you absolutely everything Batman has appeared in. So these are the 3 films that were made when they were doing the Batman Unlimited show. I believe these actually all came out the same year. If I'm reading this correctly, I think it was 2015 that these all came out. So, I don't know anything about this iteration of Batman, but I want to continue getting all the animated feature-length Batman films, and that means getting these things. So it's cool it's all on one disc to get, you can get all films right there. And I'll give them a watch at some point. And then we also have here SpiderMan, the limited edition collection. So I remember when these came out a couple years ago, and I already owned Batman, SpiderMan on Blu-ray, the trilogy. So I didn't really see the point in getting this set because it seemed like it was just mostly a rehash of what had already been released before. It even includes the bonus disc that was released with the third film, but again, didn't seem like they had too many new special features. They do have a tribute to Stan Lee as a part of this set, and then another thing they added was Spider-Man 3, the Editor's Cut. I've never heard of an editor's cut before. I've heard of director's cuts. I've even heard of producer's cuts, but I've never heard of an editor's cut. And I haven't heard that there's too many differences. Like, there's different ways that transitions are done, and certain scenes are cut out while other ones are slightly added in, but it doesn't sound like it's a major change from the original film. The original film, Spider-Man 3, is pretty rough, so I can imagine that anybody taking a chance at editing it could maybe improve it, but I think it comes down to the amount of material in the film, and I don't know exactly what you do with that unless you start cutting out entire story beats, which is pretty tough when you have already written the film. That seems more like a writing stage issue, not an editing issue. I always felt like that film was actually edited pretty well for how much was in it. But it's really cool that this basically is everything else that had come before. It comes with these awesome booklet pages and everything, and it was kind of going up in price for a while because I don't know if it's out of print or, it says it's limited, but there's actually the 4K set that's out now, so that might be why this one is getting a little harder to buy. Maybe the 4K set's going to be the only version of this set that's available. So if you want to get it, I would get it now, unless you want to just get the 4K discs, which I didn't see a point in getting at the moment. Here I have Flight of the Navigator. I have to say, thanks to the YouTube commenter who said I should be getting Flight of the Navigator because I had it previously, and this is kind of a confusing case where Flight of the Navigator was released by Disney in the United States, and recently it was available on the Disney Movie Club. Of course, that release didn't have any special features. I had this release from a couple years ago that's region-free, and it also included a commentary. So this film was released by other studios in other countries, and that's why I was able to get this release, which was, released many years prior to the one that Disney finally did this year. And at least this one had a commentary. But then someone actually pointed out, and now I'll probably be parting with that version, because they said there's a whole new version of Flight of the Navigator out there that has tons of new special features. There's a whole new 4K scan of the film, a restoration. They do an interview with the director, the producer, the original actor, Joey Kramer. They even have a reversible sleeve. So, if you do this inside out, you can have the original artwork on the side, which is the same as the artwork that's here. But it's cool that you get the option to, kind of like what Shout Factory does. So this is a really cool set. Thank you so much to that YouTube commenter. That I read the comments, and they often help a lot because they help to point out certain releases that are now available, that or if there's a better release out there of a film that I previously owned. So probably won't be getting the Disney Movie Club version. But in the meantime, I should point out I do have a bunch of new Disney Movie Club films here. A lot of these are some of my favorites from the mid-2000s. We have Holes, which is a great movie. I think Holes is very underrated if you haven't seen the film before. We have the Pacifier here. This was one that I loved so much as a child. I haven't seen it in a couple years. It's Vin Diesel, and so that alone might make it likable. But Freaky Friday, which I still find to be a very entertaining film. And then the sequel to a Goofy movie, which, I haven't seen the sequel in many years. And then some 90s classics, The Parent Trap, which I've seen, of course, many times. And The Mighty Ducks, which, is another hallmark of the 90s. But I had not seen the film until recently, which is pretty blasphemous for someone who lives in Minnesota, where a lot of this movie was actually shot. Disney Movie Club has some pretty nice deals where, you can get one movie for full price, and then every additional film is basically half off or less. But the only problem is there's not really much else to say about these, because they're mostly for if you want to put them in your collection to watch on a beautiful Blu-ray disc. You can, but there are no special features. We've kind of gone over that with some of my daily cinephile videos about how a lot of the Disney Movie Club releases have no special features, and from what I understood, the only one that didn't was the Black Cauldron. The Black Cauldron actually did get special features, the same ones that were on the DVD. And but someone did tell me that Watcher in the Woods, which is the most recent Disney Movie Club release, actually does have a special feature on it. So that's wild. They did it again, but for the most part, still no special features. Even though some of these previous releases, like Freaky Friday and the Pacifier, I remember the DVDs and I remember that they had special features. So not sure why they can't just port them over, but you know, at this point they're really only releasing it for the fans who just want to add it to their collection. So what are you gonna do? And then of course I'm continuing to add to my Oscar winners, the winners for Best Picture. I am collecting every film that's ever won Best Picture. So we have An American in Paris. This was the winner of Best Picture in 1951. And you know what's crazy is I love Gene Kelly, and I've never seen this movie. And I mean, this is kind of like one of the highlights of his career. So yeah, I know, I'm shocked. I haven't never seen it before, but I am finally giving it a watch. And you know what's cool is that's actually available on HBO Max. HBO Max, I still think, is one of the best streaming services out there for older films. And that is one of them, and a lot of the other older Warner Brothers films. I also have to say, like, Paramount Plus has a lot of really old films as well. I mean, I was looking through some of their catalog today, and they have a bunch of movies from the 20s. So, like, Paramount Plus is neck and neck with HBO Max for its film history side of the films that are available. And then I have The Artist, a movie that was a tribute to silent films that came out in 2011. Won the Oscar for Best Picture. I don't know if this was one of those shocking winners, but I mean, it's a movie about making movies, so of course it's going to win the Oscar for Best Picture. I mean, they almost always do. And I remember seeing it the one time when it was originally released. I saw it, and it was interesting. It was entertaining, but I haven't given it a watch since then. So it's been over 10 years, and I finally got Speed on Blu-ray. This has been a long time coming. I've had only the Laserdisc for a while now, and I had seen the film before, streaming wise, and then I got the Laserdisc of all things because I never saw the Blu-ray out there, or if I did see it, it wasn't the 2-pack I wanted because yeah, it was available with the second film, and I believe this was the only way to get the second film for a while. It might be available now as a separate release, but basically I was watching out for this set, and I finally saw it on Amazon again, and I was like, what am I waiting for? I finally bought it. And Speed is, I mean, it's one of my favorite action movies. I had not seen it until the last couple years, but it still blew my mind. I still thought, holy, this is such a good, like, 90s action film. And I've watched it many times since, and now that I own the Blu-ray, I can finally watch it the way it really probably should be watched at this point. So and I'll give the second one a watch eventually. For some reason, everyone likes the idea of a bus that's not able to stop, but if it's a cruise ship, well, now you're just going too far. Well, I better get these all on the shelves. We are at, like, what, episode 95 at this point, so we're almost to episode 100 of Monday Movie Pickup. What's going to be the surprise for that episode? Well, just keep watching in the weeks ahead, and maybe you'll find out. Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Lauren, Anthony, Anna, Kirsten, Spencer, Lucas, Ryan, and Robert for supporting me on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive blogs and videos, and for just $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.